Alrighty. So we're recording. So awesome, Dan. Thanks for coming on this call today.
Good afternoon, David. Thank you for having me.
So for everybody who's on, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about telecom audits. Now, super exciting, right? Everybody gets all jazzed about telecom audits. Well, I know Dan does. And what I want to do is, our goal is to help businesses become more profitable, right? And one of the ways to do that is to, obviously increase revenues. Our big thing is can we capture any unnecessary expenses? And I got introduced to Dan because actually we got introduced to him with some of our clients. I'm looking at some opportunities to help them save money. And then here locally, we're actually in Missoula, Montana. Got in touch with Dan, learned a bit about what his company does, how they help businesses, how they do it basically for no cost to you. In the end, all you do is save money. And so I want to bring Dan on here to talk about really what telecom audits are, how they go about their services, what it is, why you should consider having one done if you've never done it before, and then how we can get in touch with Dan and his team to help you. So first and foremost, Dan, welcome, and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Thank you very much, David. I'm not trying to be cute, but the very first thing I'll tell you is what we are not. And that is we are not a telecom broker. We are not in the business of cramming pre-made solutions down people's throat. Okay, I don't do that to be, like I said, clever or cute. It just helps coming right out of the gate get some understanding. What we are is technology agnostic, dealer independent. In other words, in plain English, we don't care who someone uses for a telecom provider. By telecom, we're talking about anytime voice or data is either transmitted or received from your organization. And when you think of your organization, don't necessarily think about just the desk you report to. Think about cell phones out in the field, and anytime truly an employee is either communicating or transmitting voice or data. Every one of those services has a cost. We have built a Kelley Blue Book at my company. We know what these services should cost. We know what they cost your peers. And at a glance, if you allow us to look at your bills with no obligation and no upfront costs, we will go talk to your vendors, again, with your permission, and we might negotiate a little bit. We will look for errors, and then we will come back to you with a report. And it's more of a, what would I do if I were in your shoes, Mr. Business Owner, Business Manager report. You're under no obligation to follow any of our recommendations. Everything I just described, 100% free of charge. That's why I'm able to look you guys in the eye and say there is no risk.
Yeah, which is awesome because I know when we talk to people about, and I bring it up, I say, well, hey, have you ever had a telecom audit before? Right away, they assume, oh no, we get contacted by people all the time that are vendors, that are this, that are that. And I look at it, I'm like, no, that's apples and oranges. And the thing that I look at it as, and why I love recommending Dan's company and partnering with Dan's company, is that it's like if you go to the doctor and you get a diagnosis you might not like or a family member doesn't like, what do? You go and get a second opinion. That's really what Dan is. He's that free second opinion to say, hey, are we bleeding unnecessary cash? Is there a way to capture some dollars? And the cool part about it is he doesn't represent any particular companies. And so when I get it's amazing to me when you talk to business owners that have or are using all those services that you talk about, and you bring this up and they're like, oh no, I'm not interested at the time. I'm like, who wouldn't be interested in a situation where all you could ever possibly do is put more money into your pocket? Like literally net, it doesn't cost you a thing. So it's always amazing to me that people, it's because it's a little bit different than people are used to.
It is. To my knowledge, we're the only company in Montana that does what we do. And nationally, there are not many of us. It is a model that has some traction nationally, but not here in Montana that I've observed. Some others have tried to follow in our footsteps. What I do find, David, is people portray themselves as consultants. They will look a prospect in the eye and identify themselves as such, but ultimately they're compensated by the company they're repping. They're brokering, or if that's not clear, think about this. If you go out and shop for a phone system or for a dial tone or an internet circuit, you're going to deal with a salesperson, and that salesperson gets probably 10% of what they sell you as their commission. That's bread on their table. So it is in their best interest, unfortunately, to sell you as much as they can, as high a price as they can. I'm not necessarily saying they're all dishonest, but you do have to recognize it is in their best interest. They get a slice of what they eat. My company, we stopped just short of talking about our fees. We talked about it's 100% free up to the point I bring a recommendation back to a client. If a client likes our recommendations, we implement for them, we test for them, we coordinate with all vendors for them. And at the end, we ask for a split of those savings, and that's our fee. So it's money that otherwise would have gone to company X. And the difference, the true big difference, is almost like looking in a mirror. Instead of a salesperson thinking, if I get $100 from you, I get to keep 10, my company gets a nickel if we save you a dime. So my team and I are incentivized to turn over every rock and identify every error and every unnecessary service, because that's how we're compensated. We're one of the only organizations that is on your side, that truly is along for the ride and only gets better as you get better.
For sure. And so what are, obviously there's some nuances depending on the service. I know the big ones, right, are like landline phone, we talk about cell phones, internet service, merchant processing, and I'm sure there's others. What are some ways people are asking, well, how can you possibly, I got some good deal, or I've looked at it. What are some ways that you can capture savings for people? You actually have you obviously have that Kelley Blue Book, which is kind of gives you the ability to benchmark what the normal standard fees are, if I'm correct. But with that, how does that Kelley Blue Book work that you have? And then also, what are some different ways that you guys actually find those savings?
Sure, thank you. Two big ways I'd like to address here. First is how we get the savings. And yes, we have the Kelley Blue Book, but there's a lot more to it than just going and waving a note in the phone company's face and saying, hey, company across town gets 10% less. Why doesn't this company get the same consideration? Now, having said that, it is a difficult negotiation for them to wiggle out of when I have empirical evidence, when I know for a fact that a company that is comparable is getting a lower rate across town or perhaps in another state. We do have clients in 11 states, so we have a pretty comprehensive idea of what's going on, at least regionally, if not nationally. The second thing we do, I'll be honest, most clients of mine could, if they really wanted to spend the time, call their phone company, threaten to leave, cajole, plead, and probably get a very short discount, like maybe a 5% off discount for 6 months, and then the price would creep back up. My company goes along for the ride long term, as long as our clients want us to be along. And once we're in, we have about a 95% retention rate. Most clients keep us because they don't want to go back to talking to the phone companies. The point of that is we review the phone bills each and every month. So when the phone company a year later thinks you're not looking and starts inching the bill up, we're on top of that. We identify those savings, bring them to your knowledge. If errors suddenly show up, and they do, we're all over that. Funny thing, my tangent on errors, I think the ratio is about 999 to 1. I found one error that actually worked in a client's favor, where they were getting billed less than they should have. And 999 of the 1,000, they were getting billed more. It's kind of strange how that works. So it's worth looking at. Yeah. Does that answer your question, David?
Yeah, absolutely. So you said, like, with your clients, you got about 95% retention rate. Of the audits that you actually do, what percentage are you able to, on average, find them savings?
Yeah, that's a slightly over 95% success rate that we find at least something. Sometimes it's complete low-hanging fruit that requires absolutely no change. Sometimes there might be steps involved, and then that's when the manager and I have a discussion about, is it worth it? Is it worth changing X to achieve $100 a month in savings? That is a business decision, and we highlight what we think we would do if we were the business owner. We highlight the risks. We don't just willy-nilly go for all of the available savings. The reason is, you'll remember I said my team does the implementation, right? I'm not going to suggest a ridiculous solution to save a nickel if it means my team's going to have to be on the phone 1,000 hours and now turning a million screws, right? That would be career suicide. So I think you see the point. We truly are aligned, and we're not going to push a solution onto our business owner clients that is less than optimal for them. It has to make sense. And again, the success rate of finding something's over 95%.
Awesome. And I know we've already addressed it before, we acknowledge it. We're in Missoula. You talk about Montana clients, but for anybody watching this video, know that, Dan, you can serve across the United States. So you've got a lot of clients up in our region where we're at, but you're by no means geographically bound.
Yeah, we have clients in Florida right now, and that's yeah, we're actually working. We've quoted one in Miami. I think of it like my company is a quarterback. Now, there are some times, especially locally, we have the luxury of being able to go on site and install things, and we do that service here in Montana. As far east as Bozeman now. So the western border all the way east to Bozeman, not as far south as Hamilton is where our current guardrails are. But then for pure consulting plays and pure financial plays, contract analysis and rate analysis, anywhere, let me caveat that, anywhere in the US and sometimes Canada. Mexico, we have no say down there. Their telecom is vastly different. Europe, vastly different, et cetera. So globally, I'm of no use, but the states and regions I just described, yeah, we'd be a big asset.
Awesome, for sure. So, and I know there's a lot of, we can go down a lot of different rabbit holes. I know one of the things, if you guys watching this video, if you haven't seen Dan in person give his talk and talk about his business, he's notorious for having his bag of phones, and he's talking about and all these different things. And that's probably another conversation for another time. But I think what the whole goal with this video, one, like you said, was to introduce who you are and what you do. I don't understand why any company who gets a hold of this video, this information, understands what you do, why everybody wouldn't consider contacting you to figure out, can I save money or not? When you look at a scenario and you say, hey, how about I look at your stuff, it doesn't cost you anything, but then if we do find anything, basically we're going to take 10 cents savings and you're going to give me 5 cents and you get to keep 5 cents. So it's only ever money in your pocket. Who wouldn't want to do that? I don't get it. And so that's why I wanted to bring this up. Obviously, we've been talking about some other things, at least going into some detail, maybe about the particular services, but definitely from a high level overview, I want to make sure that people understand, who you are, what you do, what that service looks like. And then we're obviously going to give people an opportunity to get in touch with you and maybe start going down that process of figuring out, what would it take to do a telecom audit for their business and what would the next steps look like. So I appreciate you being here, Dan. Before we kind of close out, are there any last second comments you want to make, any nuggets you want to leave folks with?
Sure. You said a key thing in the middle there. I focus a lot on money, but time. You said, what does it take to do an audit? Very little. It takes bills, and I'm happy to come make copies of your bills. We have an agreement we sign that protects you, that says what I will and will not do, and I will not abuse your bills. I will not sell that information to anyone. But the point is, you give us those bills, and my team does the rest of that heavy lifting. So you're not going to be obligated to spend hours you don't have cooperating, helping me, answering questions. We've seen enough to know, just based on a couple of monthly statements, what is going on and what we would do. That's the effort. That's the total expectation from my clients.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, Dan, like I said, I appreciate you being here. I want to do, my mission is to, and my team's mission is to help businesses become more profitable, help them any way we can. And this is just one way of doing it. And to me, it's an absolute no-brainer way. Like I said, when you have nothing to lose and all you can ever do is make money and keep more money in your pocket, why wouldn't you do it, especially when the risk is here? So that's why I want to bring you on. I appreciate it. You're going to find wherever you're on this video, you might come across it on social media, on our website, you might on a landing page, maybe our YouTube channel. Wherever you find it, there's going to be their link maybe above or below this video. If you click on that link, it's going to take you over to basically, it's like, let's call it an application page. And what Dan's done is provided us with some of those initial intake questions. So in that way, when he can understand kind of where you're coming from. And what he'll do, him or a member of his team will actually take that information and they'll follow up with you. But that information, you fill it in as accurately as you can. It'll help for Dan and his team to get a better understanding of where you are before they get on the call. They're going to say kind of where you are, what your business is, and they'll maybe can have some ideas before they jump on the call. So definitely, if you're interested, like I said, no risk. Why wouldn't you do it? Just click on the link. Fill out a couple short questions just to get a little bit of intake information, and then Dan or his team will definitely make sure and follow up with you shortly after you submit it. Before we get going, Dan, and I know I gave you already a chance for some last thoughts, but any last ones, I'll give you the last word.
We didn't mention merchant services, which is part of that.
Yeah.
A lot of telecom stuff and also the fees you pay credit card companies. But I think we've covered it, David. Thank you. And yeah, please do reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you guys for taking the opportunity to reach out. Hopefully this helps your guys' business, because in the end, we want you to be more profitable, that we can support your family, support your marketplace, support your team. It's all about helping you guys grow. So thank you so much again. Hopefully you found this valuable, and we'll talk to you soon.